Welcome to Zoom In. Weddings are special occasions. They are characterized by pomp, color, and glamour. And most people believe that the success of a wedding is determined by the number of people invited. There's a lot of energy that is involved in planning, budgeting, and all that in a wedding. And today we are going to discuss a wedding that happened in this season. And when I say this season, I believe you know what we are talking about. We have Richard, or Richie, and Zawadi, who had a wedding during this period. Remember, it's already September, and we are talking about a wedding. Therefore, allow me to invite you for this Zoom meeting where we are going to talk about this lovely couple that have managed, or rather decided to do a wedding despite all the challenges. So, karibu sana Richie and Zawadi for this meeting. Just to start us off, tell us briefly about yourselves, your background, kidogo tu, and then we can now talk about your plans, your budgets, your guest list, and all that.
Hello viewers, my name is Richard Obiero. Of course, this is my wife, Emma Zawadi. I am deacon at Nairobi Central SDA Church here in Nairobi. I'm also a software engineer by profession, so I mostly work with enterprise resource planning softwares, mostly with Microsoft products because I'm a partner with them. So mostly engineer softwares for HR, for financial management, for manufacturing, for sales, warehouse, and such. Yes.
My name is Emma Zawadi, as my friend has stated. I am an investment analyst by profession. I studied finance and basically looking at evaluating the financial status of the company just to ensure that they're suitable for the different financial positions that they can go in. So that's basically what I do in a nutshell. I also serve at Nairobi Central SDA Church as a chorister and a Sabbath school teacher.
So, chorister and a deacon. And your background is interesting. You guys are doing a lot of planning. So, as you do your planning, please tell us about your plans for the wedding. Let me start with Zawadi. You had a plan and you had a wedding dream. Tell us about it.
I have a plan, a very big plan, to say the least. I come from a big family. Like, my mother has over 10 siblings. There are a total of 21, actually. So just from my mother alone, you can imagine the guest list before we start going to the other side of the family. And I love every member of my family. So I was just thinking that it's going to be a beautiful occasion for everyone to come and everyone to do it. And we had booked a month where just before the rains come, so it's going to be a little green, but not too dry. We intended to do it on April 5th.
Yeah.
But then the announcement happened 2 weeks to my wedding. So it was before people can do this fancy 100 people, 50 people. We were limited to 15 people in the church. So it came from 800 people. My plan, it was going to be huge, to 15, to actually 12. Yeah, we're actually 12 people at the end of the day. Yeah.
Richie?
Yeah, so the planning was with the plan. We actually started planning on September of last year. So we planned, prepared finances, to what to wear, with the guest list, the venues. We did location, we had booked and paid for actually a reception's ground. Time getting to 2 weeks to time, most of our contracts require that you honored 80% by that time. We had honored most of our expenses and cleared, booked an MC, band, food, decor. That was actually set and ready. And then we were committed. I think now, by that time, announcement was made by the president that Corona is here with us. We have the first case reported. So thereby, there was that thing. No one knew what is happening, what is to go where. Then the following week is when our lock came in. And by then we had already set everything. So everything of us was ready, our certificates were ready, we'd already finished our camping, so we're just mostly waiting for the date. Then it fell to the shock that you can't host a wedding, have gatherings, you have to reduce people, because when you had to wait for the church now to give us direction, like what will be in regards to the wedding that we've now planned to this. Announcement had already been made and were finished, and no one objected. So all set and ready, and all our 800 guests and plus. Yes, I mean, wedding invites had actually gone out.
Yeah, they'd gone out. Everything had already been done. My dress was ready.
Yeah.
His suit was ready. So yeah, we were up and ready to go.
Yeah.
But we had to make a decision about.
On that's what I want you to tell us on that decision that you made, because you see you had a budget of 800 people, and everything paying the service providers 80%. How did you guys go through this? Because you had already committed, 80% had already been paid to your service providers. How did you react to the president's declaration of the COVID-19 first case, and of course the measures that came with the announcement?
I cried. It was a lot of debate with Richard, with my family, his family, and then we said, okay, what do we do? We didn't want to, one thing was certain about is that we're not going to postpone the wedding. And when we said, come rain, come shine, we're not postponing the wedding. So, because then also it was a very uncertain time. We didn't know what the president was going to say next. So we decided to actually move our wedding up. Before he decides that we can't do anything, most of his family is in Kisumu. So before he locks down the area that we can't travel or we can't do anything, that we just try and push it ahead, and then do what government and the church say. As long as us we're getting married, we are happy.
So how easy or how hard was that for you, Richard?
Hard because I think prior to that, I think for about a month I was not around. I was not within the country. So where I was, I'd also seen situation changing. So when I came back, first I thank God for just allowing me to be back before getting caught in the wind. So then when the president, when the first case was announced, and then later on, it took some days, then the president spoke, started to giving directives, and then Minister of Health also started, Cabinet Secretary for Health, started also putting plans in place and sharing with the entire country. So for me, it was, first it was hard, it wasn't easy, it was very hard and tough. First, I really felt for her, for Zawadi, because how she'd planned, invested, and all this to get all our guests aligned. Immediately what we did was we prayed a lot. I think when I made the decision to marry, I used to pray 30 times a day, but now with Corona, I prayed more than that, and I fasted now double just to see realization. Because the next thing we did after prayer, we called our pastor, spoke with him, his word, and his advice is Pastor David Riaga. He's a lecturer at Africa Adventist University. So we spoke with him, and he spoke to us a lot, told us to be calm. He was speaking on us on a daily basis. We were praying together, and he told us the important thing are the certificates there, because we also had our milestones and actually our goals, like what to dictate our wedding. So say the first important thing is, even if you don't have the budget or have the guests or have these other things aligned, the main priority is that me and her are individually preparing for marriage. We've set the date, we cannot move the date regardless of what come or may. And it's just to trust God us to unite. Whatever will change if we've not met the budget in full or finances, our interest is to just go before God and man and get married. That was our key thing that was driving us. So our pastor affirmed those to us of what we also shared with him. He told us we have the certificates. He guided us. He double-checked to ensure and told us nothing is stopping you guys. Just we'll liaise with our church pastor, and if we'll accommodate us, we'll even go to the office and set that one. So after those reassurances and prayers, when we also brought in our families to tell them of our thoughts, and what we thank God for, all of them were so happy and joyous, especially our older, my parents, my aunties, my older cousins. They were very much, they told us that is the key thing for the wedding. It's the marriage part of it. All other things is just party. That can be done later. So they told us they're in support, whether they're there or not, they are in their prayers, and they're happy, they're excited. They have their full blessings to go ahead. No one objected, no one gave any other idea, but they stood firm with what we had decided. And that is one thing we really, really thank God for.
One thing that I like about the two of you is that you did what the Bible says in Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God. You went to pastor and the pastor advised you, you prayed. Actually, you prayed before you went to pastor, so the pastor advised, then you went to the family. Typical example of that verse, seeking first the kingdom. Now that you're here, tell us the advantages. Of course, Zawadi, you've told us, and of course, Rich, you've told us about the disadvantages. It made you feel bad. Zawadi had to cry. You know, you were out of the country. Tell us about the advantages. Were there any advantages?
Yeah, I think for me, the first advantage was it made it very solemn. It had been, many times we go to weddings and we turn it into a spectacle where we are just excited, we are ululating, and, we're into the hype of it. We don't listen to each other, or the vows that we're actually making to each other and to God. And the fact that there was no audience, I would say. There was no show. We were just honest with ourselves. So I think it made the occasion very solemn and very real and very, for me, just affirmed that it is a relationship between you, your husband, and God. That was a very big reminder. I've attended many weddings, and there are very few where I can say that indeed we humble ourselves to actually think about commitment we're making. Yeah. That's the first advantage.
Yeah, so before I go to Richie to give us the second advantage, I just want to reiterate your point that a wedding is supposed to be a solemn event. It is supposed to be between the couple and God. The minister is supposed to be officiating, just like we normally call them officiating minister. That is a point that should be should go to our viewer who is planning a solemn event like a wedding. Richie, second advantage, this advantage is we tunaziandika chini because we want to wipe away the tears.
Amen. I think the second advantage is to remove a lot of weight and burden that we have decided ourselves to pick up and put on our shoulders unnecessarily. And by that weight, I mean the issue of budgeting, sourcing for funds, ensuring all is coordinated, putting up a committee to ensure everything will be followed to the letter, so as to get there and find that they go in hand, because we're also bringing two families together. So we want to ensure that they're also accommodated well, they are set and ready, because my family was traveling all the way from Kisumu, coming this side, most of my family. So that also ensuring that it's planned and set. So you see, with that, it brings that by the time, even if we've handed over most of the things the day before the wedding, that was to be the Sabbath, to have my Sabbath rest and prepare and consecrate myself before God for my marriage tomorrow, I would still have that ringing in my head, like, is my auntie here? Is my dad here? Is everyone set and ready? Did they get there safely? What happened to my grandparents? So by the time even I'm stating my vows, I'm not fully 100% very clear of my communication. So it tends to be part of a distraction of not necessarily speaking to God, but just reading what I've written down. So with it being very solemn, that was before Pastor also made the situation very real. For us, it makes you understand that then and now you've made a commitment to God and man. I'm responsible for her even before God. So this is my immediate ministry now. And I'm also declaring to their family, the family that is there, her mom, her uncles, sister, and also my family. So I'm attesting to even our church pastor and also our pastor that this is what I'm committed to do before God and man. So it makes it very real. The situation changes very rapidly because you're no longer going into a party. Your responsibility sets on you there and then. So you're aware of what you're doing.
Okay.
That's also, I think, the other thing I'd say.
One thing is coming into my mind. You know, you are a couple that is setting a precedence here. And based on your wedding, the plans that you had, and, you know, you had to, allow me to say, you had to reset to default settings. So you had to do things in the new normal way. Someone is asking from somewhere, did you guys go for your honeymoon?
We did.
Zawadi, you are shaking your head and then you say you did.
Okay. We had a honeymoon. We didn't have our planned honeymoon.
Okay.
Let me clarify that. I think we have the perception that we must go somewhere. And it's nice to go somewhere. We had planned to go somewhere, to two places actually, and we had paid. But we couldn't travel again because Nairobi was under lockdown. And so what we did was just have our honeymoon at home. So the good thing, our families prepared for us food at least to last us for the first week. And then we just stayed indoors and spent time. So we had our own version of a honeymoon.
Richie, you saved some money, right?
Yeah, we did. I think for us, we had a priority list. I think honeymoon was high above that. So that was really set and finished. But I believe God wanted us to have it in a very different manner. Actually, for me, as how I look at it, is to set a very solid foundation that indeed we built it upon a rock that cannot be shaken. So advantages that were there was that we didn't need to travel ahead, think about logistics and all that issues. You are somewhere, you don't know everyone, all those manner of challenges that may come, third-party related aspect, the non-entity of it. We now had, you had to stay home, and we thank God, our family prepared food for us to last us for a week. I think for a week and a half or so, quite a lot of food. And we had scheduled for 2 weeks, 2 weeks of honeymoon. But now it was lengthened by the fact that now we all had to work from home. So our honeymoon was not only the 2 weeks not working, but for a very long duration.
Till now.
We're still on our honeymoon because we're working together in the same space, we're staying together, living together. So it makes the transition of me adjusting living with her and her adjusting also living with me, and us setting routines, starting to build our culture and our norms that will be within our house, actually to set our foundations right. So actually allowed us to apply the things we learned on during counseling, books we read, actually practice them to actually inculcate some very good practice within our marriage. So those are the advantages of that.
You have mentioned about having your honeymoon still and you're working from home. Briefly, what are the disadvantages of having a honeymoon and working from home? How is it coming? Do you manage to do everything that you want to do in a day, your set plans, your goals, the daily goals that you have? Or sometimes you get distracted?
It was an adjustment in the first few months because you're in a new space, it's a new place, you have a new person, you're excited about this person, you have to work, So the first month was really about balance, finding a way to balance, because as much as you're working from home, that's not the only thing that's supposed to be about the home. So still have to have your time together, your dates. We had we had to be very creative about this because restaurants were closed, couldn't go anywhere. We had to have time, of course, make time for devotion, make time to work, make time to cook, make time to clean. Yeah. So I think it's really a matter of learning the balance of it. It doesn't come at a go. The first days we forgot about cleaning. So the time we went to wash clothes, there were so many. So it's really about learning the balance. Yeah.
Okay. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about something else. How has this affected your marriage? The fact that you are not able to do a wedding that you wanted to do because of what is still prevailing in the country.
Yeah.
How has that affected your marriage? Zawadi, you didn't have the wedding that you wanted, right?
Yeah.
So how has that affected your marriage?
I think it has affected it in a positive way, first and foremost, because we were able to pick out what is special about what we want from each other. So what did we consider special about the wedding, and was it done? And I think that helped us very real with each other. So I had to get over my dress that's still sitting in my mother's house, but ask myself, between those things, what do I value most? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So and that taught me to value him, because see, I had to make a choice between having the party I've thought about and I've planned for and I've dreamt and I've raised funds for. I have everything set in place, versus actually just making the choice to be with him. Yeah. Okay. So for me, it's taught me to choose my family first.
Okay. Yeah. Richard, you talked about weights and planning and budgeting sometimes stress people a lot. And of course, the travels, your family had to travel 6 hours from where they are to the wedding venue. I would want to ask, what was it that was necessary for this wedding to happen? What are some of the necessary stuff that you needed for this unique wedding to happen, so that someone somewhere can know that I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for my wedding or for our wedding to happen?
Yeah. So I think first and foremost for me, I'll say them in the order that through them. It's first, the two of you need to talk, decide, and agree. Away from the proposal, doing this very nice gesture stuff, you still need to sit down and actively discuss it. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to marry you. So that means I'm marrying you. I'm not just marrying you that later on we may divorce stuff. If I've married you till death do us apart. Mm-hmm. So you talk about the full aspect, how each party feels about it. And it's not a matter of, what can I say, being ready, quote unquote. Some people define being ready. So ready is a relative term to very many different people. Some things you need to have a house, some things you need to afford this, you need to be of this age. So by ready, I mean you've spoken to God with this for some time and you are settled in what you've prayed about to God. Both of you have discussed it and have agreed. Then the next step after that, I believe, because first you started with God, you talk to your partner, then you go to your parents. And you inform your parents. After your parents grant you their consent, the next person is the pastor. So with the pastor comes counseling. For us, counseling was very key. We started counseling very early, so we just take our time through it and understand, to know what we are getting ourselves into. Because it's better to separate before your marriage if you are not ready. The only way to find out that is counseling. Counseling we started around August last year. Mm-hmm. We took a good time in it with our pastor. There was no rushing, there was no hurrying, and it was a good time. We were able to read, I think about 90% of the books we were advised, and they've been very impactful in terms of just individual character and adjustment. So when that is done, the next thing is the government. need to apply for your certificate very early, so that because it will take you about 21. Right now, it's taking people around 24, 25 days to get it the moment you start. So you need to at least do a month earlier, pick a date, and then have a 90-day window which you have to get married before the certificate lapses and expires. So that also you need to do early, because for us we also a bit of in the works with it. So we had also done it a bit early on the 7th. So that no one is also, you're not caught off in between, you're missing a document or such. So when that is ready, is to agree on the venue, and then your principal people that you'd want to be present. Because again, you can't have everyone. Let's say in this, but looking at it from just a basic angle, you can't have everyone in your wedding, even if you're not in the entire country.
Yeah.
You need to have some principal key people in your lives that you want to be present to see you witness, and aside from see you witness, help, pray, and work with you to ensure that you honor your promises that you made to God and to man. To allow that. So you need to have very people, and I believe in every other person you can have more than, I could say, beyond 10, like key primary people on that. So yeah, so once you have those, then with the pastor, you just on your date, and the venue is never an issue. Whether it's the pastor's office, whether it's the church, the church ground, whether it's the pulpit, hotel, just make sure you have your pastor, because wherever you'll be, you'll pray, and God will consecrate those grounds, and you'll be going to my prayer. I think those are what I say would be the research anyone should have.
Zawadi?
And where you're going to live. I think it's a mistake that I realize a lot of couples make. We spend so much time on the wedding, we don't think about life after the wedding. So we found our house in December. We got married. We're to get married in April. So by December, we had found the house that we wanted to live in, and we started getting our things pole, you know. So if I passed by Mtumba and I saw a nice carpet, I'd buy, you know, things like that. Because we have the mentality of waiting for the wedding to get things for our house. There's no guarantee. Like for us, you see, even if someone had planned to get us a gift for the plans changed. So if you hadn't been ready, you would have found yourself without a TV, without a sofa set, without a bed, without anything. So encourage, find where they want to live and budget for it as early as possible, so that you also kind of start thinking about your home, not just your wedding.
Yeah. So there's a point that you've mentioned that I think is very important, apart from the other important points that you've been mentioning. You don't wait for your guests to bring you presents thinking that my uncle is going to give me a sofa set. I once attended a wedding where 90% of the guests brought one particular color of plastic jugs. So as we come to the end of this, I would want you guys to advise the young people who are planning for weddings, planning for big weddings, small weddings, whatever wedding it is. What would be your best advice for these young people? Let me start with Zawadi.
First thing, as Richard said, is talk to each other. Be honest. If flowers are important to you, just say, I want beautiful flowers. But you can't have everything that you want. So make a decision as a couple to have 3 things that you focus on, because even normally you won't cover everything in your budget, maybe unless you had planned for it for a long time. But most of us have parental support or friends supporting us. So focus on 3 things that a couple you want to ensure that you have for your wedding. And then the other thing that I would say is
Okay. You know where I come from, if you come from Kisumu and you're a man, you'll be referred to us as Jakisumu. So Jakisumu
He's actually, he's literally Jakisumo actually. He's from Kisumu Nyahera.
Oh, we'll talk about this. We'll talk about that after the show. You could be my uncle, but now advise the young people.
Yeah, so you need to. I think what has not been said probably is you need to, during the engagement period, you need to really prepare, because engagement period will include you the step of taking the dowry and finishing with that and setting up very down and clear. Then after that, how long should it take before you now do the official ceremony with the church before God? Because this other one is more of bringing the family together, declaring your intention, getting acceptance, and a vote to go ahead. The next is the important thing, whereby you now need God to allow you people to sit together and for God to start leading you in your now you two as one. So that those are the things you need to really work on and determine. Then during this period is when you also talk about finances, loans, if any of you have. And so talking a bit of, it's not like you sit down and write everything, put policies, objectives, and all that. It's just building a band. That's a bit of a culture. You're sharing, you're telling me your goals, ambitions in life, telling you my goals, ambitions in life, so that we are getting to know the expectations we'll have of each other. That kind of a conversation. So I generally know that my wife would want to work here, live here, would want to finish his master's, probably do 2 degrees, those kind of things. So it makes you kind of see how things are. Finance-wise, you open yourself up and share how much do I earn, how much does she earn, who do we have to work with? Because I think that's the key thing that we miss. You need to live within your means and make sure that you're planning for the future with what you have. You can't plan with the gifts that you'll be given. You can't plan with the friend support, because you never know what is happening in between. And those are temporary. They are unknown. So you need to work with what you have. And as you said, the three things you guys need to fund, so that whether all these other things are not happened, you still have your wedding. And remember, most of us forget that after that, we'll be living together. We still need transport for work. We still need to pay rent. We still need to pay bills, provide meals. And those ones, you cannot run your home on a loan. You can spend all your money in the wedding and then you're left borrowing money to sustain marriage. She will leave, because that means I lied on my diary, I lied before God will be able to work and provide. So you need to work together. So that will help actually determine what kind of wedding you want to have, what kind of budget would you work with. So you won't be able to stretch yourself so that when you're married, the first money comes in, it goes to clear debts. So that also should really settle down on people. Get what you have, work within what you have and what you can spend, so that you have the things you settled, and whatever comes next, you're married, you still meet your bills, and you're moving on. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Richard, and your Zawadi for your time. Keep that smile. When you smile like that, you encourage even the young people. They'll see that marriage is a good thing.
It is.
Which it is. It's
Yeah.
a good thing. So thank you once again for sharing your story. I believe young people out there have been inspired.
Amen.
Well, that is it for us today. Thank you for tuning in to Zoom In. See you until next time. My name is Dave Riaga, and I hope to see you again. Have a lovely day. God bless you.